She spent her whole life in church pews, surrounded by hymns and sermons she thought would define her forever. Christianity wasn't just her faith, it was her entire identity. But one quiet evening, a single verse she stumbled upon in the Quran shook her soul in a way she had never experienced before. It wasn't loud, it wasn't dramatic, but it pierced straight to her heart, leaving her questioning everything she thought she knew. What was that verse? And how could just a few words completely change the course of her life? Her name was Sarah, and for as long as she could remember, she lived by the rhythms of Sunday service. Her parents were devoted Christians, raising her with strict devotion and little room for questions. She attended youth groups, sang in the choir, and even taught Bible lessons to children. Outwardly, she was the picture of faith, but deep inside, quiet doubts grew. When life hit her with hardships, losing her job, struggling with relationships, and battling loneliness, she found herself desperately searching for answers. She prayed for clarity, but often felt her words floated into emptiness. It wasn't that she didn't believe, it was that her heart yearned for something more. That longing grew sharper each time she saw Muslims around her, praying with such focus, fasting with resilience, speaking of peace, as if they had discovered a hidden treasure. She wondered quietly, but never dared to say it aloud. What if I'm missing something? She never imagined that her search for peace would lead her to a verse that would dismantle the walls she had built around her faith. Her first real encounter with Islam came through a coworker, Aisha. They weren't close, but Sarah admired her calmness and discipline. During Ramadan, Sarah noticed how Aisha fasted long hours, yet radiated peace. One day, curiosity overcame hesitation, and Sarah asked, "How do you find strength for this?" Aisha smiled and gently shared a verse from the Quran. Allah does not burden a soul beyond that it can bear. Sarah froze. These words felt alive, as if written directly for her. They carried compassion, reassurance, and strength, something she hadn't felt in years. But the verse didn't just comfort her, it unsettled her. She couldn't stop thinking about it. She began searching translations of the Quran online, each line unraveling a new layer of meaning. Her nights shifted from scrolling through distractions to reading late into the hours, secretly diving into chapters she had never seen before. Each verse seemed to answer questions she had buried deep, about purpose, suffering, forgiveness, and God's mercy. Yet with each discovery came fear. Her family would never accept this curiosity. Her church community would turn against her. And she herself was terrified. Terrified of betraying everything she had believed for decades. Still, the pull was undeniable. The verse wasn't just a sentence, it became a lifeline. She felt as though she had been walking in darkness and suddenly glimpsed a light ahead. But following it meant risking everything she knew. Would she dare? The turning point came one night when Sarah sat alone, Quran translation open before her. She had reached a chapter known as Al-Ikhlas, short, just a few lines. But as she read, her heart trembled. Say, He is Allah, one. Allah, the eternal refuge. He neither begets nor is born, nor is there to him any equivalent. In that moment, something clicked. Her lifelong confusion about the Trinity, about Jesus as divine, about unanswered prayers, it all dissolved. This wasn't a rejection of faith. It was the purest form of it. The words were simple, yet they struck her like thunder. She cried for hours, realizing her heart already knew the truth. The next morning, she reached out to Aisha. With trembling lips and tears streaming down her face, she whispered the words of the shahada, the declaration of faith in Islam. In that single moment, everything shifted. Her old life, her doubts, her identity, all transformed in the power of a few words. Sarah's journey didn't magically become easy. Her family struggled to understand. Some friends distanced themselves, yet the peace she found within herself was unshakable. Each prayer grounded her, each verse strengthened her. Slowly, her circle changed. She found a supportive Muslim community, sisters who guided her with love and patience. She discovered the beauty of Ramadan, the sweetness of Eid, and the strength of belonging to a faith that embraced her fully. The verse that once startled her now became her anchor. Allah does not burden a soul beyond that it can bear. Whenever life tested her, she remembered those words, a reminder that her struggles were not punishments, but paths to growth. Years later, Sarah looks back at her old life not with bitterness, but gratitude. Every step, every doubt, every tear led her to this peace.